Hey, what's up, Street Talks? Eric from the Eric from Street Photography blog. So I want to share with you some random ideas on, photography and life. So the first one is realize that there's so many different reasons why we make photos. Some of us make photos for fun. Some of us make photos as a memory recollection, like we make photos of selfies as a family. And some of us also make photos in order to, for logistical purposes, like you're photographing your receipts or you're photographing your expenses or where you parked your car. So remember to yourself, as a photographer, you could also be an artist. And not everyone photographs for artistic purposes, and that's totally fine. But if you're watching this video, I kind of assume like you're shooting photos for artistic purposes, and thus, as a consequence, say to yourself, or just to verify to yourself, you are a photographer artist, and treat your play really seriously. I think the problem is a lot of people, well, there's lots of problems. First and foremost, for some silly reason, people say, oh, I'm not a real photographer, I have a day job, I can't make money off it. Just because you can't make money off of it doesn't mean that you're not legitimate. So regardless of however you pay your bills, don't let that determine whether you're a quote-unquote legitimate photographer or not. So that's the first thing. Secondly, if you make photographs for artistic purposes, like you're making photographs as visual artwork, you are an artist photographer or a photographer artist, whatever direction you want to call it. And it's really essential that you think this, because once you have discovered that you're a photographer artist or artist photographer, you become a lot more focused in what you do, and it becomes a lot more important to you. So for example, I think the problem is that in modern utilitarian society, we're essentially taught that the only legitimate type of work to do is work revolving around money, or work for work's sake, or earning money, right? And once again, just because you don't earn money from your photography doesn't mean that it's not legitimate art. Even most great artists, they weren't really greatly appraised for their artwork until after they died. So generally speaking, as a photographer artist, that means that you could take your play very seriously, because I think the best artists are big kids. We just really like to make art for fun. Every child is an artist, and even Picasso said the difficult thing about being an artist is how to stay childlike as you get older. And if you discover that you're a photographer artist, things kind of change, because artists are allowed the freedom to kind of do more random and weird things in society. Like photographers are allowed to kind of have weird lifestyle habits to and also I think it is important as an artist photographer the type of equipment that you use, because if you're a painter, you spend so much money on paints and stuff like that, and you go broke because you're just trying to buy canvases for yourself. So even with photo equipment, I mean, if you want to spend a bunch of money on your camera equipment, it actually does legitimately help your photography, by all means, go ahead. And don't let other people try to discourage your photography too, because often what happens in photography is that people are like, oh, all you think about is photography and you're wasting your time, you're not even making money from it, focus on doing more stuff that makes money. I'm like, dude, fuck that. Like, life is short, you only have one life to live, and spoiler alert, you're gonna die. And at the end of the day, I know a lot of people who are older, who are more retired. Most of them, had good careers and families and kids, whatever. But ultimately, what do they like to do most? They just like to make photographs. They like to travel. They like to photograph in their own cities. And it's something that you don't have to wait until you're retired to do. And you don't even need that much money to travel too. For example, when I was living in Mexico City, you get like a round trip ticket to Mexico City for like less than $300. Rent is like less than $400 a month, and the cost of living is so cheap. Or even when I was living in Vietnam, in Saigon and Hanoi, cost of living is so little. So if you're a photographer artist, allow yourself to live a strange lifestyle, and it's totally cool and legitimate. And don't let anybody talk down on you. And you don't even have to be like shoving into people's faces, oh, I'm an artist. Like, if you want to call yourself an artist, you could. If you don't want to, that's totally fine too. But remember, us artist photographers, we got a sacred mission in life. Don't play yourself. Don't get distracted from the hate on others by others. And create art that looks beautiful to you. Peace out.